My girlfriend ended up at frat house at 4 a.m. So my girlfriend, 21 years old female, went out to a concert with her friend, but couldn't get in, so instead they went to a rooftop nightlife venue. That same day, I, 22 years old male, went out with the both of them to dinner and such, so I already knew everything that was going on, so I didn't really care. Around 12 a.m., she tells me they're going to a rooftop nightlife venue. After we stopped texting, she calls me. We got off the phone around 1 a.m. after talking for like 5-10 minutes, where she tells me to text her saying that she wants to keep talking to me but can't hear me, which I do. I sent her 3 texts after that period where she just read them and didn't reply. I didn't think much of it and went to sleep. But fast forward, she texts me at 4 a.m. saying that she needs me to pick her and her friend up and that it's an emergency. I'm sleeping, so I don't see that until she calls me 30 minutes later saying the same thing, that she has an emergency and wants me to come pick her up and her friend. So I drive to wherever they are, and it's a random fraternity house about 30 minutes from where they were at before at the rooftop nightlife venue. This is what I found out after the fact. Her friend got kicked out of the rooftop nightlife venue, and these guys told them that they'd take them home, which is about 5-10 minutes from where they were. Instead, they ended up at a fraternity house 30 minutes away. The guys that drove her and her friend to the fraternity house said they were going to take them home, and that she had no idea that they were going there, and that she also didn't know it was a fraternity house, even though her friend, while drunk, knew pretty clearly that it was and said it was when I picked them up. She said that she also didn't think anything of it, and that she didn't notice that they were driving for so long. From there, they stayed for a little bit and drank before she eventually ends up texting and calling me. She also kept telling me she couldn't text me once we got off the phone because her phone was dead, but it wasn't dead since she read the messages initially. And she also let me see her battery percentage through the settings that showed her phone wasn't dead that same day. She said that she didn't do anything and that she kept saying that she was constantly only talking about me. I just want some advice from other people on the whole situation, because up to this point I've never felt uneasy in our relationship. Got drunk? Ended up at a frat house far away, Karma said in the comments, as an objective 49-year-old who has run the gamut from being a young idiot, getting into bad situations due to drinking and being dragged around by or babysitting drunk friends, to parenting young drunk kids. Here's my take. It sounds to me like her friend was overly drunk to the point of getting kicked out of the club. Being that her friend got booted, I'm going to pin a lot of this on her. Your girlfriend likely got dragged along for the ride here, literally by a drunk and out-of-control friend who she felt either responsible for or stuck with. I could very well see your girlfriend being swept up in the moment here with the offer of the ride home, and possibly being unable to persuade her friend from getting in the car with some guys who obviously had ulterior motives. So she winds up at this party, probably nervous, drunk, and confused. She tried to keep in contact with you throughout and fell off on the texts, probably due to distraction, chaotic partying, and potentially chasing after her drunk friend to keep her out of trouble. Maybe her phone wasn't completely dead but low battery? I don't have all of this information. But the key is that she texted you and called you to pick her up as a "get me the fuck out of here" emergency. Doesn't sound like she was having fun. I have been in situations like this and have picked up my kids in similar situations. Sometimes the night takes strange turns, and you wind up where you had no plan on being. Again, the key here is that she called you. I would think if she was cheating and trying to keep secrets, she would have called someone else and kept the whole thing a secret. Obviously, I don't know her and only have limited information here. But I think if you've had no reason not to trust her before, I'd let this one go and chalk it up to drunken mistakes and winding up in a bad place. Also, Viz mentioned other comments. While I agree your girlfriend was dumb as hell and made some excuses that are questionable, young drunk people sometimes act dumb as hell. Is her friend single? She may have just been along for the ride. Her phone may not have been dead, but almost dead. If I'm at 10% out drinking, I treat it as dead. Basically, I wouldn't excuse this as being okay, but everyone saying she definitely got nailed at the party is majorly projecting. I was in an LDR in college and spent many nights at frat parties without cheating a single time. I have also been in situations where I am out until God knows when doing God knows what because my friend is obliterated and should not be getting into a random car by themselves but will not come home with me, and it's time to play babysitter because I am less drunk and don't want to explain to a jury why I let my friend get raped. You aren't wrong to feel uneasy. Wait a couple days and ask for a reaccounting. See how consistent it is? If you can't trust her, end the relationship. But maybe she's just 21 and got drunk and made some bad decisions and her explanations don't add up because she was drunk. You know her best.
I have been a people pleaser to a fault my whole life. I have been working in marketing for 10 plus years. Over the years, I've had my fair share of bosses who were good, average, and some who sucked. There is one in particular that stood out as awful. This story is from about 5 plus years ago. Pamela, 40s, not real name, was the VP of Marketing and Sales for a mid-size retailer. She started at the company a few years after I did. And if rumors were true, she was the 4th pick for the position and was simply hired so the company could appease shareholders. I was a manager under her, and my whole job was to make sure the website and stores had their products merchandised properly, received all their monthly sales materials, managed advertising, set up and managed the department's budget, PM'd all department projects and operations, created reporting to reflect sales, managed presentations, creative briefs for future projects, etc. In short, I did her work and all the administrative grunt work to keep the department afloat. I managed all this because I had access to her email, and many times sent emails on her behalf to keep the department functioning. Pamela spent most of her time showing up after 10 a.m., taking business lunches, and planning company parties. Don't even know why we did those, but I planned those too. I consistently questioned why she spent so much of our budget on these events when we didn't have the budget resources for any of it. Pamela told me to take from future months' budgets to pay for the current month's overspending. So at the start of every month, I had an original budget, and by the end of the month, I had to turn in an edited budget, edited under Pamela's direction, that made it look like Pamela's spending was under control. This is important for later. I definitely made mistakes here and there, being in charge of so many tasks, and constantly found myself working 12-hour days split between being in the office and working after my kid went to bed. Weekend work was also done before my family woke up, and after they went to bed. During Pamela's first major holiday season, sales were shit. Pamela kept changing her mind on the visuals for the stores, kept bringing on new advertising and PR agencies to bring in sales. All these agencies consisted of her personal friends, and ignored our buying merchandise team's planned promotions for her own better ones. At this time, I had been dealing with an ongoing infection that turned to sepsis and was hospitalized. The doctors and my husband said it was due to the stress of work and that I needed to take a break. As I recovered, I realized how much I was hurting myself, my family, and even the company I worked for. Eventually, my old habits got to me and I got on my phone and checked mine and my boss's emails. What I found made my blood boil. First, I got a lovely bouquet of flowers from upper management wishing me well, and I knew that Pamela organized the delivery. She sent me her favorite flowers. I went to her inbox to put the receipt in the correct folder to send to accounting when I got back. At the top of her inbox from the past 3 days were emails clearly not related to business. What I found in her emails was Pamela emailing her personal friends, griping on how I can't just shake off sepsis and get back to work. She also complained that she couldn't find any of my notes, spreadsheets, or documents for any of the work she was technically in charge of. They were on our shared drive labeled very clearly. Finally, I found an email where she sent a friend from a previous company asking for advice on how to bring in sales and save her job. In this long thread, this old colleague asked if there was anyone managing most of the work. And of course, Pamela said I was. This colleague explained that clearly it was my mismanagement that was causing issues and that I could be blamed if sales didn't pull through by the end of the season. Pamela mentioned that I was in the hospital and repeated comments from her other email thread. This person said that she couldn't outright fire me because it could seem like retaliation because I needed to take emergency medical leave. But if Pamela could prove I was stealing from the company or misusing company resources, then she would have grounds to have me fired and use me as a scapegoat. Upon my return, Pamela called me into her office and said she was worried I was taking on too much and wanted to take work off my plate. She announced was taking managing the department budget off my plate. She asked me to only drop off a small stack of invoices to accounting. Additionally, Pamela told me under no circumstances was I allowed to talk to accounting about anything regarding budgets. Also, if I had any concerns about the department or workload, I wasn't allowed to go to HR. I had to discuss it directly with Pamela. Oh yeah, I could see where this was going. Unfortunately for Pamela, I had built a rapport with Lois, 50s, not real name, who was our main accountant. Lois always said that she would do everything in her power to help me should I ask. Knowing this, I grabbed the stack of invoices off Pamela's desk to give to accounting. I also added the email threads I read while I was in the hospital and the current unedited budget that Pamela hadn't touched yet for the month. I also found in my filing cabinet the hard copies of old budgets with Pamela's handwriting on what numbers to change to balance our budget. Finally, I added an email from our first round of budget adjustments where Pamela's subtlety threatened to put someone else in my job if I couldn't do what she asked. So I walked and dropped off the invoices to accounting when I bumped into Lois. She brought up invoices, and I sternly looked at her and said Pamela is the only one in our department that Lois is allowed to talk to about our budget and invoices. Lois saw the suspiciously thick file folder on her desk, gave a firm nod, and lovingly kicked me out of her office. Within the week, Pamela was fired. From what I understand, she has been continually job hopping for the past few years. The CEO and HR brought me in to personally apologize for everything I went through and gave me a paid 1-week vacation to take at my discretion. Given other issues with this business, I left after another year. Which brings me to today. I am once again a manager for sales and marketing. I have a wonderful boss, Mike and 40M, who trusts my business decisions and backs me up on practically everything. We are hiring my team for me to solely manage and direct. Today, I looked through the applicants and found Pamela's resume sitting among dozens of others. I stared at her name, wondering how many other people share her name. Upon review, yup, it's her. She definitely fell down the corporate ladder, with VP of our old company being the highest title she earned. And to no surprise, she embellished her achievements, claiming the work I managed as her own, and claimed she generated an 87% sales growth during the holiday season at our previous company. As a people-pleaser who firmly believes in giving everyone a chance, it has never been so satisfying to click disqualified. To those suggesting I interview her to see her reaction, I would have loved to see her face as she walked in. But I felt it would have risked my boss's trust in my decision-making ability. Maybe I'll send a personally written rejection email, someone in the comments told me. You are clearly too nice. I would have definitely had HR call her to arrange an interview, assuming you would be sitting across from her. There's nothing more satisfying than seeing the face of someone like that when they see karma staring them in the face. Also, someone said this is why CYA needs to be drilled into everyone's head when they enter the workforce. You did great as having all the evidence you needed to protect yourself after your former boss so arrogantly tried to throw you under the bus to cover her own ass. The MCP added, I once had a job where I was officially head of IT, but they eventually got rid of the one person I had working for me, so I was the entire IT department. At a company that needed 4, there was a guy whose job was to produce the monthly data reports for our clients, which were our only deliverable to them. This was his only task. We changed the way it was done. It would be much easier for him the new way. But every month he'd ask me to do it for him because he didn't know how. Remember, this was his only task. The first month or 2 it was easier for me to do it than to argue with him. Then I started nagging him to let me teach him. He always had an excuse why he couldn't do it right now. I'd have to do it in addition to my own work, so it'd start at like 8 p.m. and get done at like 2 a.m. And I'd have to taxi home, sleep, and get up at 6 a.m. to go to work and start a new day. So it was hard on me. I eventually told him it was urgent that he let me teach him how to do it. And he said to me outright, why would I let you teach me to do it? If I don't know how, I can make you do it for me. I then told him I wasn't going to do it again, and he went to the owner and got the owner to order me to do it. He had slept with the owner and everyone knew it. Actually, everyone had slept with the owner but me. I told the owner outright that he should learn to do it in case I'm hit by a bus, but the owner wouldn't hear of it. So eventually the owner hired a new mangler to manage the business for him, and she instantly hated me because I was more interested in doing a good job than in kissing her ass. So she made up an excuse and fired me. When I was hired, the company had 8 full-time employees. When I was fired, it had 150 thanks to the improvements I'd made to their infrastructure. The guy who had refused to learn how to do things couldn't cope because I wasn't there to do it anymore, so the deliverables weren't made at the end of that month. The client was upset, but gave them another month, but no payment that month. The company scraped by, and no deliverable at the end of that month either, so the client fired them. The next month, it had 2 full-time employees, the owner and the mangler. He's still there, she isn't. Some years later, I was managing another IT department and we were hiring. I got a paper resume from Mr. I refused to learn how to do my job, in which he claimed to have done not only what he refused to let me teach him to do, but all of the tasks I had actually done as part of my own job as well. With great satisfaction, I took out a big black marker, wrote "Do not hire" in big letters on the front of it, and dropped it in the box to return to HR.
I'm facing a dilemma about attending my son's wedding. He's 36 years old, and he's remarrying just 6 months after divorcing his first wife. His new partner is his former mistress, a 44-year-old woman. To provide some context, my son and his ex-wife, whom we'll refer to as Lindsay, started dating during their high school freshman years. They got married when they were 26 and were married for 10 years. I loved Lindsay. She was so amazing and sweet. My son is a surgeon and she always supported him. My son divorced his wife 6 months ago. He was cheating on her with another woman named Kimberly. I found out when I visited my son's house and I saw Kimberly leaving his house. I told my husband, but it turned out he always knew about the affair. I asked him why he didn't tell me and he said it wasn't his business and it's not his secret to tell. He said this was their marriage, not ours, and they needed to figure it out. I told Lindsay about the affair, and when Lindsay confronted him, my son told her he wanted a divorce. They divorced, and my son and Kimberly got engaged. Their wedding is in 2 weeks, and I was invited, but I don't know if I want to go. Lindsay was very heartbroken over the affair. She was sad and cried for a long time, and I don't know if she has moved on yet. I'm still upset that my husband didn't tell me, and I told my son I don't know if I want to attend his wedding. And he replied, "If you don't want to support your son, then don't." My husband is attending the wedding. I told him I didn't want him to, but he said, "I'm going to my son's wedding. I don't like that he cheated, but it happened, and there isn't anything we can do about it. It's best to move on. What should I do? TLDR, my 58F son, 36M, is getting remarried, and I don't know I want to go to the wedding." Shift Life told me in the comments, if your son has decided he's ready to move on from his wife and marry his mistress, that's his business. He doesn't get to decide that you are also ready to move on. You have clearly built a relationship with your daughter-in-law that exists outside her marriage relationship with your son. He may feel that the women he chooses for his wife are interchangeable, but you don't feel the same about your daughter-in-law. Lindsay was a member of your family. Your feelings for her don't turn off just because your son decided to end his marriage. Your son is free to do whatever he wants, divorce his wife, marry his mistress, whatever. But he has to accept that your feelings are valid as well, that you are not ready to move on as quickly as he is. If your son is in a hurry to get married now, accepting that members of his family are not ready to support him is just reality. Dragon in the comments asked, "Why are all the men in your family so blasé about this?" Tacy28 replied, "'Cause it's the norm for them, I'd say. And they never tell 'cause of some bro code, which makes me think the surgeon has done it before and just didn't get caught. And that dad not only thinks this behavior is okay, but that he's strayed in the past, or has been around male friends and relatives that have. I get that the OP is super upset for her de facto daughter-in-law, especially since the wedding is so quickly on the heels of the divorce. OP, if you don't want to support this union, I think it would be disingenuous to attend. Why don't you take Lindsay on a day out on that day to celebrate your beautiful friendship and divert your attention from all the shit that's happened? I wish you all the best. Please take your time to grieve this loss of your expectations and dreams as well." This next comment I liked. OP, no offense, but your husband and son sound like real pieces of work. Ex-wife has been in your lives for 20 years since high school. Your husband didn't even have the decency to at least tell you that he knew your son was cheating on her. In fact, doesn't seem bothered at all by cheating or lack of morals in his own son. I think that is very telling about your husband and would make me question his own morals and trust. Your son is an AH. I think going to the wedding is completely up to you, as long as you are prepared for whatever fallout that causes. I personally would support the ex-daughter-in-law. Son cheated and got engaged 6 months after the divorce. He clearly doesn't give AF about anyone but himself. I would already be distancing myself from son and AP and can't imagine wanting to be around them even after they are married. Admittedly, I keep my circle small and don't hesitate to cut people off, so take what I say with a big grain of salt.
I blew up a romance scammer's life. This one is fresh and still unfolding, but it's already hit an explosive level. Some details intentionally vague. Context: I'm a woman in my 30s with a reasonably good corporate-type job in a field with lots of room for growth, and recently back into the dating scene after a decade. I'm kind of a would-be a 10 if she lost 30 lbs-looking girl. Beautiful face if a bit chubby, but I never have issues getting a date. I'm not well off, but I'm stable and have a bit of spending money. I live in a large multicultural city, and my ex was an immigrant, so I'm open to dating people of any origin. What happened? A few weeks ago, I met a very charming man from a Latin American country only a couple years younger than me. Seemed very sweet, cuddly, intelligent, family-oriented, emotionally available, educated, and in a good profession back home in his country, and had a lot in common with me. Chemistry seemed amazing inside and outside the bedroom. He was honest that he was in my country on a tourist visa, but hoping to stay. I made it clear I wouldn't be able to help him with that, but we'd have a fun summer fling while he was here. If he managed to stay or come back, only then would we consider a real relationship. Then the other shoe dropped. A couple weeks and 4 dates in, during a text conversation about my work, he asked me to be his sugar mommy. I initially laughed and assumed it was a joke. He kept pushing and clearly said it wasn't. Of course, feeling insulted by this, I went off on him. He maintained it as a serious ask until I hit a nerve with my complaints about how embarrassed he should be to ask me that. Then he got angry and insulted me for thinking he was serious about it. No apology for being hurtful to me. Obviously, what I did next was take screenshots and cry about it to my closest friends. I was hurt that I was fooled into thinking he liked me and that he thought I needed to pay for a man. My friends started the fuse on what happened next. One of my friends started snooping more on his online presence. Together, we found about 6 different Instagram accounts that were him using different variations of his name and different photos of himself, all uploaded in batches. On Facebook, a similar pattern. All very scammy and suspicious looking. He'd been foolish enough on one of his profiles, though, to follow and tag the employer that he was working for illegally on his tourist visa in my country. So I contacted another close friend in a local law enforcement agency that works with immigration. She looked up his file. He had a wife and daughter at home. I released the hounds after that. The friend who helped me investigate online made several group chats on multiple platforms with all of his family, immediate and extended, and friends. She released all the screenshots as well as a rant about how shameful it was. As they started blocking her, she added more people. I found his sister's phone number. She sent her messages on there too. Everyone he knows, including his wife, know he's unfaithful and trying to take advantage of women. Mins, after the online bombardment started, I got a rude message from him about how I should be smart enough to know he was joking and he doesn't need to sell himself. I didn't reply. Next step, online immigration reporting form with all the info we found. Work info, employer name and address, his home address, full name, job, photos, screenshots admitting to working. Usually these reports take months to be reviewed, if at all, but I gave the file number to my law enforcement friend. 2 days later, law enforcement officers visited him at home. They found him with a phone number that was issued to a local resident. All his roommates also had numbers issued to the same person, a direct link to the employer. He received a caution for trying to scam me, a no-contact order, and a flag on his immigration file that, based on his country of origin, will likely mean he can never return, as well as a strict warning to not work without authorization. His roommates also received warnings. His employer received a visit next. They found significant proof that they'd been employing him illegally, as well as multiple other people. Their investigation is still ongoing, but so far they are likely to receive tens of thousands in fines or possible jail time. The guy isn't getting deported because the government would have to pay for it, and proceedings take longer than his remaining visa time, but he's now upgraded from a flagged file to a multi-year ban on re-entry to my country. If he bothers me again, though, he will be deported as well. Hope he enjoys going back to his angry wife and the ridicule from everyone he knows. See ya again, never. If you found this story as fascinating as we did, don't forget to hit that like button and share your thoughts in the comments below. Subscribe to our channel for more captivating real-life narratives and click the notification bell so you never miss an update. Have your own story to share or a similar experience? We'd love to hear from you. Share your thoughts and stories in the comments and let's continue the conversation. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next video.
Today, I'm going to talk about how to recognize and deal with a toxic relationship. I upload videos every week, so consider subscribing if you don't want to miss any. This information isn't just about romantic relationships. It applies to any close relationship, like with a friend, family member, or partner. Sometimes, it's hard to tell when someone's flaws can be accepted or if you're ignoring a serious problem. People can change, especially as they mature, but some behaviors and attitudes persist and might need professional help to change. Here are 10 signs of a toxic relationship that you shouldn't overlook. 1. Chronic anger. When someone consistently uses anger as a means of control, it creates a hostile and unhealthy environment. This person may have frequent outbursts, become irritable over trivial matters, or use their anger to manipulate your actions or decisions. Living in constant fear of triggering their anger can lead to emotional distress and erode your self-esteem. 2. Chronic sarcasm. Sarcasm, often disguised as humor, can be a passive-aggressive way of expressing anger or frustration. In a toxic relationship, a sarcastic partner may make critical or hurtful comments under the guise of joking. This behavior can be emotionally damaging, as it undermines trust and erodes self-confidence. 3. Disparaging humor. Similar to sarcasm, disparaging humor involves constantly putting others down in a joking manner. This can be a form of emotional manipulation, as it chips away at your self-worth and makes you doubt your abilities. Over time, it can lead to feelings of inadequacy and self-doubt. 4. A punitive mindset. When someone believes that others deserve bad things to happen to them, it can create a toxic atmosphere of judgment and blame. This mindset can manifest in various ways, such as refusing to empathize with others' struggles or insisting that individuals deserve their hardships. It fosters an environment of negativity and hostility. 5. A controlling nature. A controlling person seeks to dominate and manipulate your actions, decisions, and even your appearance. They may dictate what you wear, who you spend time with, or how you should behave. This behavior can be suffocating and prevent you from expressing your true self and maintaining healthy boundaries. 6. Excessive insecurity. Excessive insecurity in a partner can be emotionally draining. They may constantly seek reassurance and validation, demanding that you prioritize their feelings and needs over your own. This dynamic can be exhausting, as you're tasked with providing constant affirmation to maintain their self-esteem. 7. Extremely opinionated. Being judgmental and critical can create a hostile environment in a relationship. An extremely opinionated partner may have rigid views and expectations, making it difficult for you to express your own opinions and ideas. This can lead to feelings of inadequacy and stifled individuality. 8. Manipulation. Manipulation involves using guilt, pressure, or deceit to achieve one's goals or control the other person. It can take various forms, including emotional manipulation, where your emotions are exploited to make you comply with their wishes. This can erode trust and cause emotional harm. 9. Predominant self-centeredness. In a toxic relationship, one person may consistently prioritize their own needs and desires while neglecting yours. They may give begrudgingly, expecting something in return, and then accuse you of exploiting them. This selfishness can lead to feelings of being taken advantage of and unappreciated. 10. A need to always be on the offense. When someone believes that everyone is out to get them, it creates an environment of defensiveness and suspicion. They may interpret innocent actions or comments as attacks, leading to frequent conflicts and an atmosphere of tension and mistrust. Recognizing these signs is crucial for maintaining your emotional well-being. If you find yourself in a relationship characterized by these behaviors, seeking support from friends, family, or a therapist can help you address the issues and decide on the best course of action, whether it's working on improving the relationship or distancing yourself for your own mental health. If you're in a toxic relationship, here are 4 suggestions to detoxify it. 1. Take a break. Step back and reflect on how the relationship affects you. 2. Create emotional distance. Maintain your independence and thoughts. 3. Look at your contribution. Examine how your actions may contribute to the toxicity. 4. Get professional help. Seek counseling or therapy to address the issues. Remember, there's hope, and you don't have to stay in a negative relationship. If you know someone who could benefit from this information, please share this video, and feel free to leave comments. I'll respond.
Within the intricate realm of romantic relationships, emotions often weave an elaborate tapestry, revealing layers of complexity that can be challenging to navigate. The following story centers on a woman who unexpectedly finds herself grappling with deep-seated insecurities that have surfaced within the sanctuary of her loving and committed partnership. Her journey toward understanding and managing these complex emotions unfolds as she seeks a path to emotional stability and the preservation of her cherished connection with her boyfriend. The narrative commences with a woman who is deeply enamored with her boyfriend. They have journeyed through life's ups and downs, cherishing countless memorable moments, fostering a profound connection, and nurturing dreams of a radiant and harmonious future together. However, a recent series of events has shaken the foundation of her emotional security within their relationship. Foremost among her concerns is the revelation that her boyfriend has engaged in online interactions with other women and allowed himself to entertain fantasies involving them, all while they were ensconced in the cocoon of their committed relationship. This discovery has left her feeling not only vulnerable but also pierced by the arrow of hurt, leading to an unsettling sense of uncertainty regarding her standing in his heart. Desperate for answers and yearning for solace, she turned to the boundless repository of the internet, seeking guidance and reassurance. Yet, the online realm proved to be a double-edged sword, presenting her with a recurring narrative that only deepened her inner turmoil. She encountered numerous discussions suggesting that men, by the very nature of their desires and inclinations, were inherently prone to seeking novelty and allowing their minds to wander into the realm of fantasies. These online voices argued that such tendencies were commonplace and should not be a cause for concern within the context of a committed relationship. These opinions, however, only served to isolate her further, leaving her feeling like a solitary figure in the wilderness of her emotional struggle. Compounding her distress, she observed that popular media, including movies and television shows, often depicted male characters as perpetually unsatisfied with their partners. These portrayals propagated the belief that an insatiable thirst for new experiences was an intrinsic facet of male behavior, further intensifying her feelings of insecurity. It was as if these media representations had conspired to convey the message that there were no men capable of contentment and fulfillment within the confines of a loving and dedicated partnership. The weight of these emotions began to gnaw at her, gradually transforming her inner landscape into a battleground. She found herself grappling with a profound sense of inadequacy and jealousy, emotions that seemed to have taken residence within her heart. These emotions proved to be relentless adversaries, threatening to erode her emotional well-being and the foundation of her relationship. Nevertheless, amid the tumultuous terrain of her emotions, she held steadfast to her unwavering love for her boyfriend. She cherished the unique bond they shared and held tight to the vision of a future that was not just marked by happiness but also characterized by emotional resilience and mutual understanding. In her quest for solutions and the reclamation of her emotional equilibrium, she embarked on a multifaceted journey, gradually piecing together a comprehensive plan to address the intricate landscape of her emotions. Candid conversations. Recognizing the pivotal role of open communication, she summoned the courage to engage in heartfelt and unfiltered dialogues with her boyfriend. She believed that the sharing of vulnerabilities and concerns was not only crucial for mutual understanding but also for the cultivation of trust and emotional intimacy within their relationship. Voyage of self-discovery. Realizing that self-awareness was an essential compass on her journey, she dedicated time to introspection and self-exploration. This process allowed her to unearth the roots of her insecurities, providing her with valuable insights into her own emotional landscape. Compassion and forgiveness. She embarked on a journey of self-compassion and forgiveness, recognizing that her insecurities were not solely a result of external actions but were deeply intertwined with her internal struggles and past experiences. Through the practice of self-love and forgiveness, she found the strength to navigate her emotions with grace and resilience. Professional guidance. Acknowledging the significance of professional support, she contemplated the possibility of seeking therapy or counseling. She understood that professional guidance could offer valuable tools and strategies to navigate the intricate labyrinth of her emotions. As her journey unfolded, she remained committed to understanding and managing her complex emotions. With each step forward, she found herself inching closer to a place of emotional stability and the preservation of the cherished bond she shared with her boyfriend. Her story served as a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the capacity for growth and transformation, even in the face of the most intricate emotional challenges within the realm of love and relationships. With each step of her journey, our protagonist gained a deeper understanding of her emotions and a renewed sense of purpose in managing her insecurities. The path she had chosen was not without its challenges, but she was determined to confront and conquer these intricate emotions, for the sake of her relationship and her own well-being. Mindfulness and emotional regulation. Along her journey, she delved into the practice of mindfulness and emotional regulation techniques. Through mindfulness, she learned to observe her thoughts and feelings without judgment, helping her gain perspective on her insecurities. Emotional regulation strategies enabled her to navigate intense emotions with greater poise, ensuring that her reactions were balanced and well considered. Empathetic listening. She also recognized the importance of active listening within her relationship. By empathetically listening to her boyfriend's thoughts and feelings, she sought to understand his perspective better. This not only deepened their connection but also fostered a sense of trust and emotional intimacy. Boundaries and expectations. As part of her journey, she began to establish clear boundaries and expectations within her relationship. These boundaries were not meant to stifle their connection but rather to ensure that both partners felt secure and respected. By openly discussing their boundaries and expectations, they aimed to create a safe and nurturing space for their love to flourish. Self-care and personal growth. Recognizing that self-care was an essential component of emotional well-being, she devoted time to activities that brought her joy and fulfillment. She embarked on a path of personal growth, focusing on her own interests and aspirations, which in turn bolstered her self-esteem and reduced her dependence on external validation. As she implemented these strategies, she experienced gradual shifts within herself. The deep-seated insecurities that had once threatened to consume her began to lose their grip. She found herself feeling more secure and grounded in her relationship, understanding that her boyfriend's online interactions and fantasies were not a reflection of her worth or desirability. Crucially, she came to terms with the fact that her journey was an ongoing process. Insecurities, she realized, were not vanquished overnight. They were facets of human emotion that ebbed and flowed, requiring ongoing attention and self-compassion. As her emotional landscape continued to evolve, she shared her insights and experiences with her boyfriend. This open dialogue allowed him to understand the depth of her emotional journey and reassured him of her commitment to their relationship. Over time, the couple's connection deepened, not in spite of their challenges but because of them. Their bond became a testament to the resilience of love when met with honesty, vulnerability, and a shared commitment to growth. In the intricate realm of romantic relationships, the woman's story served as a reminder that insecurities, while challenging, could be navigated and managed. Her journey of self-discovery and emotional growth allowed her to not only find stability within herself but also to foster a love that was resilient and enduring. It was a testament to the transformative power of self-awareness, compassion, and communication in the pursuit of a healthy and thriving partnership.
In the realm of romantic relationships, intricate dynamics can sometimes take center stage, and the story of this 34-year-old woman and her 33-year-old boyfriend of 3 years is no exception. While their relationship has been relatively smooth, a recurring issue has begun to cast a shadow over their connection. The woman is deeply committed to her partner, whom she genuinely considers a nice person. However, a distinct pattern has started to emerge in their interactions that's causing her concern. Her boyfriend, she's noticed, has developed a habit of talking predominantly about himself and his job, leaving little room for other topics of conversation. This self-centered tendency is becoming increasingly prominent and unsettling for her. It's not just about him sharing his life experiences. It's more like an obsession with self, one that dominates their conversations to an excessive degree. What's especially striking is how he presents himself. He doesn't simply recount facts or experiences. He consistently paints a picture of himself as extraordinary, constantly emphasizing his greatness and highlighting the praise he receives from others. His stories are often filled with excessive detail and elaborate explanations. When she tries to provide advice or offer an alternative perspective, she's met with visible irritation from him. It's as though he's unwilling to entertain different viewpoints, even when they're offered with the best intentions. Furthermore, he seems to derive a peculiar pleasure from adding complexity and unnecessary drama to situations that should be straightforward. He often introduces stress and overemphasizes aspects of everyday life, making even the simplest matters seem overly convoluted. This behavior has left the woman puzzled and wondering about its root cause. Is it driven by insecurity? Does his relentless need to underscore his own greatness and complicate everything originate from deep-seated doubts about his self-worth? While she deeply cares for her boyfriend and acknowledges that, apart from this issue, their relationship is harmonious, she's reached a point where she feels compelled to validate virtually every aspect of his life. This constant need for validation has begun to take a toll on her own self-esteem and mental well-being. As she grapples with this challenge, the woman seeks to unravel the complexities of her boyfriend's behavior and, if possible, find a way to restore the equilibrium in their relationship. She contemplates potential approaches, such as open communication, seeking professional guidance, exploring the root causes of his behavior, and establishing personal boundaries. In the midst of this endeavor, she remains hopeful that a path toward resolution will emerge. In the world of romantic relationships, her story serves as a poignant reminder of the importance of understanding, communication, and self-preservation when confronted with unexpected patterns of behavior. In the realm of romantic relationships, intricate dynamics can sometimes take center stage, and the story of this 34-year-old woman and her 33-year-old boyfriend of 3 years is no exception. While their relationship has been relatively smooth, a recurring issue has begun to cast a shadow over their connection. The woman is deeply committed to her partner, whom she genuinely considers a nice person. However, a distinct pattern has started to emerge in their interactions that's causing her concern. Her boyfriend, she's noticed, has developed a habit of talking predominantly about himself and his job, leaving little room for other topics of conversation. This self-centered tendency is becoming increasingly prominent and unsettling for her. It's not just about him sharing his life experiences. It's more like an obsession with self, one that dominates their conversations to an excessive degree. What's especially striking is how he presents himself. He doesn't simply recount facts or experiences. He consistently paints a picture of himself as extraordinary, constantly emphasizing his greatness and highlighting the praise he receives from others. His stories are often filled with excessive detail and elaborate explanations. When she tries to provide advice or offer an alternative perspective, she's met with visible irritation from him. It's as though he's unwilling to entertain different viewpoints, even when they're offered with the best intentions. Furthermore, he seems to derive a peculiar pleasure from adding complexity and unnecessary drama to situations that should be straightforward. He often introduces stress and overemphasizes aspects of everyday life, making even the simplest matters seem overly convoluted. This behavior has left the woman puzzled and wondering about its root cause. Is it driven by insecurity? Does his relentless need to underscore his own greatness and complicate everything originate from deep-seated doubts about his self-worth? While she deeply cares for her boyfriend and acknowledges that, apart from this issue, their relationship is harmonious, she's reached a point where she feels compelled to validate virtually every aspect of his life. This constant need for validation has begun to take a toll on her own self-esteem and mental well-being. As she grapples with this challenge, the woman seeks to unravel the complexities of her boyfriend's behavior and, if possible, find a way to restore the equilibrium in their relationship. She contemplates potential approaches, such as open communication, seeking professional guidance, exploring the root causes of his behavior, and establishing personal boundaries. In the midst of this endeavor, she remains hopeful that a path toward resolution will emerge. In the world of romantic relationships, her story serves as a poignant reminder of the importance of understanding, communication, and self-preservation when confronted with unexpected patterns of behavior. To be continued.
Have you ever heard of a trauma bond? It's not what most people think. Instead of bonding over shared trauma, it's a key feature in many toxic and abusive relationships. It's the invisible force that keeps us stuck in them. A trauma bond is a deep emotional attachment to an abuser, often developed by those with a history of abuse or codependency. It can be easily mistaken for love and commitment. Here are some signs to help you recognize if it's a trauma bond you're experiencing. Number 1. They seem charming and trustworthy on the surface, drawing you in with sweetness. At the outset, they present themselves as charming and exceptionally trustworthy individuals, skillfully casting a spell of allure with their sweet and inviting demeanor. Their words and actions exude warmth and kindness, making it almost impossible for you to resist their initial appeal. It's as if they've mastered the art of winning people over effortlessly, creating an initial impression that is incredibly enticing. However, it's essential to remain vigilant, for beneath this surface charm may lie something much more sinister and manipulative. Number 2. Emotional roller coaster. They ride an emotional roller coaster, swinging between kindness and cruelty. One moment, they're affectionate and caring, making you believe things are getting better. But suddenly, without warning, they shift to anger, criticism, or even abuse. This unpredictability leaves you second-guessing your decision to leave. You may hold on to their apologies and promises to change, hoping for better days, which strengthens the trauma bond. This cycle erodes your self-esteem and makes it tough to break free. Number 3. Taking it out on you. Consider the last time they faced adversity or received bad news. How did they react? Here's where things get complicated. They often direct their frustrations and problems toward you, even when you've done nothing wrong. You become their emotional punching bag, absorbing their stress and anger. This behavior serves a twisted purpose. It reinforces your dependency on them. You may feel obliged to stay and help them through tough times, believing it's your role to absorb their negativity. It's crucial to recognize that you deserve better treatment than being a target for their emotional turmoil. Number 4. Isolation tactics. Have you noticed a growing distance between you and your loved ones? This is a significant red flag. Instead of appreciating your social connections, they may become jealous or controlling, wanting you all to themselves. They could get upset when you spend time with anyone besides them, or even insist that you distance yourself from friends and family. This isolation strategy is a manipulation tactic, aimed at making you more dependent on them. If you find yourself cut off from your support network, take it as a clear warning sign that something is amiss. You deserve healthy relationships that allow you to maintain connections outside the partnership. Number 5. Denial and minimization. One of the subtle ways a trauma bond affects you is through denial and minimization of the other person's wrongdoing. You might catch yourself downplaying their mistreatment, telling yourself it's not that bad or that you can handle it. This defense mechanism helps you avoid confronting the harsh reality that you're being abused. In the heat of the moment, it can be easier to brush off their behavior than to acknowledge the painful truth that the person you're with is hurting you. When you constantly downplay their actions, it becomes increasingly challenging to break free from the trauma bond and seek the help and support you need. Number 6. Making excuses. As the trauma bond tightens its grip, you'll find yourself making excuses for them. Even when others point out their wrongdoings, you'll leap to their defense. You might even convince yourself that you deserve their mistreatment. This mindset shift is a critical indicator that you're in a trauma bond, not a loving relationship. You're no longer thinking clearly about what's acceptable behavior, and this can be a dangerous spiral. Recognizing this pattern is the first step toward breaking free from the bond and seeking the help you deserve. Number 7. Emotional numbness. Have you noticed a growing emotional numbness within yourself? It's as if you're becoming less and less responsive to your own feelings. This detachment may have developed as a coping mechanism to deal with the abuse from the person you're trauma bonded to. You might feel like you can't bear any more pain, fear, anger, or heartache, so you've unconsciously shut down your emotions. You're no longer as vibrant, talkative, or expressive as you once were, and this emotional numbness is a direct result of the trauma bond. It's crucial to recognize this numbness as a sign that something is deeply wrong in your relationship and seek the help you need to heal. Number 8. Concealing the relationship. Lastly, and perhaps most tellingly, you might begin to hide certain aspects of your relationship from those around you. This secrecy is a concerning sign because it indicates that you recognize the relationship's deterioration, but you're actively trying to cover it up. Your loyalty to an abusive partner becomes a hallmark of the trauma bond. You may become defensive or even angry when others attempt to intervene or offer help. You might fear judgment or reprisal from your partner if the truth comes out, which further deepens the isolation and emotional entanglement. If you find yourself concealing parts of your relationship, it's a clear indication that something is seriously wrong. Reach out to trusted friends, family, or professionals who can support you in breaking free from this destructive cycle. You deserve a safe and healthy relationship. If any of these sound familiar, you might be trapped in a trauma bond with an abusive person. It's crucial to seek professional help and support from authorities if needed. You're not alone, and there is help available. If you found this information valuable, please let us know in the comments. Share this with friends who might benefit, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell for more content. Take care of yourself, and thanks for watching.
Revenge, they say, is best served cold. And my vendetta has been chilling for a decade and counting. I'm a 40-year-old woman, married to my husband, 44-year-old, for 2 decades. We share our life with 2 kids, a 16-year-old daughter and a 13-year-old son. My husband is a high-earning figure by middle-class standards. Now settle in, because this is a long story that I've never shared with anyone before. In a nutshell, my husband cheated on me, and I meticulously prolonged his guilt for almost a decade before ultimately unraveling his life and driving him out of town. 10 years ago, and by complete coincidence, I found out that my husband has been cheating on me with men, and that from before we got married. We live in a smallish town in the south of the USA. Him coming out as gay will have consequences. I believe that that is the only reason he has not come out to anyone. First, here's how I found out he was cheating on me. He got sloppy, left a credit card bill for a secret card in the pocket of a coat. While going through it, I found all the telltale signs of infidelity. Payments to a hotel in a nearby county, restaurant bills, gifts, flowers, condoms and lubricant, etc. I started camping outside the hotel on days he told me he would be late, and I saw him bringing different men there. I'm very good at compartmentalization and have a great poker face. Comes with growing up in an abusive household. So I was able to give myself the time to cool off and to come up with what I should do. First thing I did was getting an STD panel. Since I didn't know how safe he was with his partners, it came out negative. Then I convinced him that we should use condoms. Since I was having side effects from the pill, he was okay with it. I had a long think, and I came up to the decision that I was not going to confront him, nor was I going to leave him. He was able to provide me a really good lifestyle, one that I would never be able to afford with my high school diploma. A cleaning lady, a nanny to help with the kids, regular spa days and a country club, a new car every other year, luxury family vacations every year. He was a good dad, a good partner, the cheating aside, and really good in bed. But I was not going to let him have a single guilt-free week in his life. That would be my revenge. I started small, planning great date nights for us, telling him that I felt our relationship has cooled, that I wanted the spark back. Then I would sometimes slip into conversation some tea about a cheating husband, a gay man that has been using his poor wife as a beard, complimenting the only gay couple we know for having the courage of being real men who were out and proud of themselves. On the other hand, I would praise him as the perfect husband to anyone and everyone, especially if he was in earshot. The amount of guilt gifts I got was astounding. The man was even sending me flowers weekly. It continued the same way for years. I could literally see how much it was weighing on him. Me? Well, my parents were part of a commune with the concept of free love. I was the same. I just considered myself in an open marriage. It seems that cheating is easier to ignore if you are not that big on monogamy in the first place. And my husband was keeping me satisfied, so I felt no need to find a partner of my own. Then 4 years ago, I guess he met the love of his life. He started seeing just the one guy. I was seriously thinking of ending the whole thing, especially since I have started a business by then, and was able to bring in enough money to support myself and my kids while maintaining my lifestyle. But then he went and introduced his side piece to us. He fucking brought him into our house, introduced him to our kids, and that was enough for me to keep tormenting him. Apparently he was a new friend he made while golfing. He started hinting at moving to another state, one where it would be easier for him to come out. I refused. I told him that my business was here and I was not going to start over in another state. Also, the kids had their friends and extended family here. It would be unfair to uproot them. Then he started trying to start arguments. I guess he wanted us to fight, then for me to ask for a divorce. I just stopped all those arguments in their tracks. I would just agree with whatever he said. He was right, I was wrong. And to make it up to him, how about a nice dinner and some great sex? He hated that. I knew from spying on his phone that having sex with me felt like cheating on his BF, the audacity of this man. I also knew that his BF was pressuring him to leave me almost every day. He was stuck between a rock and a hard place. He started drinking, and when it got too heavy, that was when I decided that enough was enough. I wanted to ruin his life, not his health. Also, I grew up with an alcoholic father and did not want that for my kids. So I gathered all the evidence of his infidelity over the last 9 years. Photos with different men, conversations, his Grindr profile, even though he no longer had one. Everything. Then I hired a divorce attorney and mailed the evidence to his employer. He has a morality clause in his contract and adultery breaks it. All his relatives, including parents, as well as our church. I was never big on religion like him. It was like a bomb exploded. He was fired. The congregation turned on him. For cheating, not for being gay, let's keep that straight. I would never allow me kids to be part of a church that discriminated against their father, even if he was not out. His parents wouldn't take him in after I kicked him out, and he was shamed publicly. Gotta love that small-town gossip mill. And the cherry on the top, his BF was run out of the town, and he couldn't follow him because he wanted to fight for custody of our kids. Now, almost a year later, I am a free woman. I got to keep the house, my car, and my business. He got 75% of the retirement and investments accounts, but he won't be paying alimony. I got full custody, he got visitations. I also got child support. He had to move 6 hours away to find a new job. Couldn't put the last job he worked at his whole life as a reference. His relationship with his family is rocky. His reputation in town is ruined, so he can't move back anytime soon. The love of his life left him for good, and my kids only tolerate him because I did my best to shield them. and to tell them that he is still a good father to them. I also made sure to treat him politely, never talked bad about him, and had a lengthy talk about how their father being gay is okay, it's who he is, and that it was not his fault. That the only wrong thing he did was hiding it from me. So I guess the results of his cheating was years of guilt followed by a ruined life.
23 years, 23-year-old female often catch my partner, 34 years old male, telling me little white lies. Hi all, since the beginning of my 23F relationship with my partner, 34M, I've caught him multiple times on telling me little lies that honestly make no sense. We've been together for 3 years, engaged for almost a year by now. Overall, we're a really happy couple, but I think just like everyone, we both come with our own baggage. I've gone to therapy and managed to work through majority of my issues and have been encouraging him to do the same as he's had a hard life. Parents emigrated with him as a child to flee war. His mom sadly passed away from cancer when he was 16. He's an older sibling out of 3, so he became the second parent once his mom was no longer there. I think I'm a very understanding person, but I've had some resentment building up in me over the past year and a bit. Here's some examples why. Although there's been countless times where I've caught him just making things up or leaving important detail which once revealed changes the story drastically. I'm BI and we've had a threesome with a girl, which was totally my idea, yet whenever I see him looking at other girls, he always denies doing so. In the beginning of us talking with each other, before going official, obviously, he lied to me about living with his ex at the time. Most recent one, I'm currently traveling for work and in a different city, he said he was going to get a steak for dinner last night by himself. He then proceeded to send me a photo where I could see someone's plate directly opposite to his. I asked confused who it was as 20 minutes ago on the phone he said he's going by himself. He told me he's sitting across some random LOL, which obviously I didn't believe because in the photo I could see at least 10 empty seats around them. Turns out he was with a friend, male, whom I know. I just don't understand why he does that. It makes me so angry because 1, I don't get the reasoning behind his actions. 2, he's promised me countless times he'll go to therapy to fix his issues, but never does. 3, I feel stupid and like I'm overreacting since majority of the time it's not a big deal, but it genuinely bothers me. Especially the excuses he comes up with once called out. I love him, but I'm honestly really hurt. And sometimes I get paranoid that he's maybe lying to me about something big too, but I just haven't caught on. TLDR. I've caught my partner lying about small, kind of insignificant things, and it's been piling up to the point where it really bothers me. He promises to change each time, but we seem to be in a vicious cycle of him getting better and then continuing his bad habits. Fiery told me in the comments section, I wouldn't consider those white lies. He proactively lies about his behavior, like his involvement with his ex or what he's doing that night. Those aren't innocuous lies. He's lying because he is hiding something, likely something that you would consider unacceptable. But Valus said in the comments, yeah, I wouldn't marry this guy unless this is fixed because it's very shady. Turns out he was with a friend, male, whom I know. Like, are you sure? Because it sounds like he just got one of his male friends to cover for him while he was doing something he shouldn't be doing. He's promised me countless times he'll go to therapy to fix his issues, but never does. This is another lie, you realize that, yeah? He's just telling you what you want to hear so you get off his back. But he has no intention of fixing himself. Like the other commenter said, sometimes older guys date girls in their 20s with a predatory mindset. Do you think your BF respects you like an equal? Because from where I'm standing, it sounds like he doesn't take you seriously at all and just lies without thinking about it because he thinks he can get away with anything. Someone else commented, the reason men in their 30s date women in the early 20s is because women their own age wouldn't put up with this BS. Lies erode trust. He is a liar. If he can lie to you about small things, he is also probably lying about big things, like how he wasn't actually single when you met. He's also a cheater. Please do yourself a favor and have a long think about how you actually feel in the relationship rather than how you feel about him. Because the way you feel in the relationship is the relationship you have. Doesn't matter if they're the hottest, funniest, most charming guy on the planet. The relationship you have with him is one with lying, cheating. You were the other women, so you can bet your bottom dollar you'll end up being the woman cheated on too, especially when viewed in the context of how easily he lies to your face. And disrespect. He's also treating you like the village idiot by expecting you to believe his lies. I mean, he's sending photographic evidence of his lies and still expects you to believe him. And if someone wants to change, they will change. You can't cajole, persuade, and beg someone to go to therapy. You wanted to change, so you did the work to change. He doesn't want to change enough to actually do anything about it. What do you think? Let us know in the comment. Don't forget to give the video some love and subscribe to our channel. Bye.
Some like it hot. Reading a recent stolen food PR reminded me I too have a similar life experience to share. True story. I had taken an R&D internship for a food company over the summer in Keokuk, the armpit of Iowa for those unfamiliar. For housing accommodations, the company had set me up in the local college dorm that was previously a retirement home, so it basically had individual rooms and bathrooms, but one large commercial kitchen. It was summer and the school didn't have a summer program, but allowed 2 fall students to move in at the beginning of the summer. One was rarely there, but the other was constantly in the building and oftentimes had multiple friends over. Given the kitchen setup, we all stored our food there, and it's a pretty no-brainer you shouldn't take from others, but immediately I had various food items going missing or being consumed regularly. Sodas, empty boxes of cereal put back on the shelf, etc. I initially posted a sign on the fridge to not eat others' food and also confronted both about having food go missing after the sign was up. But it didn't stop whomever from stealing my food, particularly when I'd head out of town for weekends. After complaining about the situation to my manager during my job, they helped formulate the perfect pro-revenge. Given I was doing R&D work on food products, I was responsible for getting various ingredient samples to use for new recipes. My manager suggested I get some capsaicin extracts for my research, even though we weren't doing anything in that realm for flavor profiles. Well, I found a company that had various Scoville unit extracts, and I asked for a variety to see what worked best for our applications. Well, did they deliver with some small 2-ounce bottles of 50K, 100K, and 250K Scoville extracts. I ended up putting the 250K in a travel-sized spray bottle, mixed with some water to help as a carrier, and wearing gloves and a mask, borrowed from work, doctored the common food items being stolen with a liberal spraying of my mixture. Mainly cereal, chips, crackers, jug of milk, and the lip top of a few soda cans. For the snacks, I actually put some into a separate bag and left them open to dry before mixing back into the original packaging. I did this in a different dorm room in my wing, as I know well enough how potent this can be in enclosed spaces. I did this right before another trip out of town, and when I returned, I found some of the chips and cereal and milk was missing, plus 2 of the 3 cans of soda I had doctored. I never got to see the result, and no one ever said anything. But none of my food went missing for the remaining month of my stay. I hope the experience was enlightening for them, and they still remember the time they played with. Yellow Coutage says on the comments, roommates can be weird. One time I shared a house with 2 people, and each month we'd go through our phone bill, this was before mobiles, and mark which long-distance calls were ours. And then we'd each pay our proper share. Because the phone was in my name, they both gave checks or cash to me. It worked well for many months until... One month, it was day before bill was due, and one roommate still hadn't paid their share, which was not wholly unusual. Not every month, but sometimes. Note that they were often away for more than a day as they stayed at a partner's place for the night. Anyhow, I put a note on the bill that said, "Hi name. Just a reminder the phone bill needs to be paid tomorrow, so please leave a check if you're not going to be around. Thanks." About 2 hours later, I'm at work, and I see them walk into the office and look around, locate me, and then walk over to my desk, where they proceed to tear the phone bill and the note into little pieces, drop it all on my desk and practically yell, "You do not tell me what to do." Then they walked out. My boss came over and asked what's that all about. I said I haven't a clue. I just left them a note saying the phone bill is due. That evening, I was sitting watching TV and they came home. They went into the kitchen, made a pot of coffee. They'd drink 4 or 5 strong pots of coffee every day, which didn't help the situation. And then they came into the TV room and sort of mumbled a kind of apology and said they might have come on a bit strong this morning. Yeah, okay. Lunch thieves just desert years ago. I had a lunch thief. About the 12th time complaining to HR about people stealing my lunch. Mandatory reporting every 3rd or 4th instance. I was seething, not a damn thing was being done, and I still had to go buy something to eat. I was bitching to my doctor at the yearly checkup, and he got a smile saying, "You're constipated then?" I was dumb and said no why. He wrote me a prescription for some holy fuck laxative with instructions to mix it in with your meal for maximum affect, at which point I knew the plan. I wish I could say they shat their pants, but no, they ate my sandwich with special avocado sauce. About an hour after lunch, I went to HR and reported 2 things. 1, my lunch was stolen again, and 2, my medication was stolen. Char, so you got hit by the lunch thief again, and your medicine was in the bag. Me. Yes, I have had some digestive problems, and my doctor prescribed a powerful laxative and advised me to mix it in with my midday meal. HR going white, you what? Me smiling. I mixed in a prescription-grade laxative with my food per doctor's orders. Well, being that stealing prescribed medication is a criminal offense, the police were called, and found the lead man from a department over absolutely shitting his brains out. He was furious and accused me of poisoning his food. I asked, "At which point did you get the idea that food was for you?" Continued, "Furthermore, now I no longer have my medication I was prescribed for my condition. It was about this time he knew he fucked up and shut his mouth until he got a lawyer, or so I'm told. Small town. One of my buddies from high school took his position I can make and eat my hoagies, and I have no clue where Lunch Thief went after his fines and community service." Marine in the comments said, "Asshat Lunch Thief at one job I worked at was the best friend of the boss's son. The fucker was bulletproof, or so he thought. Complaints about him were ignored. Then he made the mistake of stealing the lunch bag that was clearly marked by a diabetic associate, and she had her insulin in it. She called the cops. Thief got busted with it and ended up going to prison because he had prior convictions and was still on probation. She later sued the owner of the company and won several $100,000 for ignoring the asshole's behavior for months."
Boyfriend gave my dog a small piece of edible after I told him not to. I'm very angry at the disrespect and concerned this behavior will continue with our child. I want to have a mature conversation about this later, but I'm not sure how to proceed without speaking out of anger. My boyfriend has been joking, or so I thought, about giving my dog a piece of his edible every time he's had one this week. Every single time I tell him no. Tonight he did it, and I'm fucking furious. I know my dog will be fine. I think it's cruel to unnecessarily drug an animal since they can't consent or comprehend what's going on, and it's a bit gross to me that he did that, but really what I'm concerned about is the blatant disrespect he showed me by doing it when I very clearly have told him not to at least 20 times. I am also 3 months pregnant with our child, and this has made me very anxious about how things will be with the human baby if he won't respect my opinions, rules, wishes about my dog. I know I am too angry to have a rational conversation about this now, but I know this is a discussion that needs to be had when I'm calm enough to be able to communicate. How do I have this conversation without it becoming a fight? Hip Drive commented. What conversation is there to have? He was intentionally cruel to your pet. Is that not a complete and utter deal breaker? You're right to be concerned about your child because there is zero way he will listen to your requests when it comes to parenting. Siki replied, "Yeah, this, WTFOP. I know there's posts on here where people tell the posters to break up too quickly. This isn't that. To be honest, OP, if you don't break up with this guy, then seriously, fuck you almost as much as your dumbass BF. I'm sorry to be so vulgar, but your dog and child depend on you completely for their safety. If you allow this guy around them for any longer, you're a bad dog parent." I had to scroll back up to check your ages. I seriously expected this guy to be very young, but he's 31. Girl, there is literally no excuse. Even if he didn't know how dangerous this can be for dogs, I personally wouldn't want to even date a 31-year-old child who's too irresponsible to look up the dangers of this before even considering giving it to your pet. And even if it wasn't dangerous, he could still pack his bags since the dog obviously can't consent, like you said. Someone in the comments wrote, "This is a really big deal. It says a lot about his judgment, defiance, and disrespect. Even though it sounds like your dog is fine, what would have happened if your BF did this when you weren't around and your dog had a bad reaction? Would your BF have taken it seriously and done anything about it? If he took your dog to an animal hospital, would he have been honest about what he gave the dog, or would he have lied to cover himself, even at the expense of your dog's health and the vet's ability to treat your dog? I agree it's cruel to drug an animal this way. If he thinks this is the same as every other time you have given your dog a sanctioned drug prescribed by a vet, the dog doesn't consent to that either. That is a huge problem too. I really don't know how you get any sense of assurance that he truly does understand will never mistreat your dog again, and he is a safe person to care for your child. I agree that you probably need some time to choose your words and be crystal clear with him, but this is absolutely worth having a major fight about. And she, if life replied, I would not want to be anywhere near anyone who thought it was fun to fuck with another living thing like that. He drugged an animal that had no way of comprehending what was happening to it, and has complete trust in yourself and your boyfriend. It had no idea what was going on, no way to be told what was going on, no way to communicate. I'm confused and maybe a little scared. It's not even like your boyfriend just carelessly left an edible out. He fed it to your dog on purpose. What would he do with a small child in his care? And would he say, "Oh, I wouldn't do that to a human child, just to an animal"? That's almost worse. Anyone who likes to fuck with someone that has less power than them, is a bad person.
Your relationship began as a promising connection built on months of messaging and chatting. During this initial phase, you and your boyfriend discussed the possibility of an open relationship. Both of you seemed open to the idea, with a mutual understanding that you would start as monogamous but explore the option of opening up in the future. At that time, you were genuinely okay with this arrangement. However, as your relationship evolved, you began to experience a shift in your feelings toward monogamy, particularly the idea of your boyfriend being with someone else, which started to make you feel uncomfortable. Recently, your boyfriend brought up the topic of an open relationship once more. He wanted to understand your feelings about the prospect of eventually opening the relationship, emphasizing that he didn't want to feel restricted by the relationship and desired the freedom to explore sexual connections with others and potentially form new friendships. He even expressed being turned on by the thought of you being with someone else. While you intellectually understood his perspective, emotionally, you were deeply conflicted. This strong negative reaction to the idea of an open relationship surprised you, given your prior acceptance of the concept. It's worth noting that you had a previous experience with an open relationship that ended poorly. In that instance, opening up the relationship was a last-ditch effort to salvage it, which ultimately didn't work out. This past experience appears to be resurfacing old wounds and insecurities you've worked hard to overcome in the past year. You've struggled with feelings of not being attractive enough, skilled enough in bed, or desirable enough. Your boyfriend has reassured you that these insecurities are unfounded, but you still worry that opening the relationship might lead to him finding someone better than you. On one hand, you believe open relationships can work and be healthy, and you're open to the idea of being in one again someday. However, right now, you're not comfortable with it. The thought of your boyfriend being intimate with someone else triggers jealousy and feelings of inadequacy. You acknowledge that it's not fair to demand exclusivity when desires can't be controlled, but the idea of him pursuing others makes you feel hurt. Interestingly, you mentioned that there is no one else you're interested in sexually besides your boyfriend. You want to be exclusively with him at this moment. This raises questions about his motivations for wanting an open relationship. Could it be that he has specific desires or interests outside of your relationship? These uncertainties add to your emotional turmoil. Your relationship has also been progressing toward living together and has included discussions about marriage. You once believed he was the one, but now you find yourself confused and doubting everything, including the future of your relationship. In summary, your relationship began with openness to the idea of an open relationship, but your feelings have evolved, and you now struggle with the concept due to past insecurities and a lack of interest in pursuing others. You're torn between wanting exclusivity with your boyfriend and understanding his desire for freedom and exploration. This internal conflict has left you questioning whether you should continue in this relationship. It's a complex situation that requires careful consideration and communication between you and your boyfriend to determine the best path forward. As the days passed, you found yourself grappling with an array of emotions that seemed to ebb and flow like the tides. The topic of an open relationship continued to linger between you and your boyfriend, casting a shadow over what was once a promising connection. You recalled the early days of your relationship, when the two of you had eagerly discussed the possibilities of openness and the potential for it in the future. Back then, it had felt like an abstract concept, something to ponder but not something that had a real impact on your budding romance. At the time, you were both content to be exclusively committed to each other. However, as your relationship deepened, so did your feelings. You found yourself falling for your boyfriend in ways you hadn't anticipated. His quirks, his smile, and the way he held your hand, all of it had woven a tapestry of love that enveloped you in a warm embrace. The thought of sharing him with someone else now filled you with a sense of unease and jealousy you hadn't experienced before. Your boyfriend, on the other hand, seemed to be navigating these waters with a different perspective. He longed for the freedom to explore connections beyond your relationship, emphasizing that it wasn't about dissatisfaction with what you had but rather the intrigue of what might exist beyond your current boundaries. He believed that this exploration could even enhance your bond. Late one evening, while you both sat on the couch, he broached the topic once more. His voice was gentle, his eyes searching for understanding in yours. He explained his desire to explore new connections, not because he was unhappy but because he wanted to understand more about himself and the dynamics of relationships. Listening to him, you tried to remain open-minded. You appreciated his honesty and the fact that he wanted to involve you in this journey, ensuring you were comfortable every step of the way. However, as he talked about the excitement and potential friendships that might arise from such encounters, a knot formed in the pit of your stomach. The prospect of him being intimate with someone else still triggered those feelings of insecurity and inadequacy. You longed for the simplicity of exclusivity, where the two of you could share your lives without the complexities of outside attractions. Your mind wandered back to the failed open relationship you had experienced in the past, and the scars it had left were still fresh in your memory. The fear of history repeating itself weighed heavily on your heart. As the conversation continued, you found yourself torn between your deep love for your boyfriend and your fear of opening Pandora's box. The uncertainty about the future of your relationship hung in the air like an unresolved chord in a melodious symphony. You both understood that these were complex, nuanced emotions that couldn't be resolved in a single conversation. In the days that followed, you knew that you needed to embark on a journey of self-discovery, to understand whether you could overcome your insecurities and eventually embrace the idea of an open relationship. Meanwhile, your boyfriend remained patient, committed to working through this together. The path ahead was uncertain, and you couldn't predict where it would lead. But you were determined to navigate the twists and turns, hoping to find a harmonious balance between love, trust, and the possibility of an open-hearted relationship. 4 years into a relationship can be a turning point, a moment where you've weathered storms and built a connection that feels unbreakable. Yet, for our protagonist, this milestone brought an unexpected challenge that raised questions about trust, boundaries, and communication. Chapter 1: The Journey Begins. The story unfolds during an experiential vacation, an adventure filled with strangers, new experiences, and a friend named Lisa who would unwittingly become the center of attention. It all began innocently enough, but the protagonist couldn't help but notice her boyfriend's peculiar interest in Lisa from the start. Chapter 2: The Subtle Signs. Little things started to add up. Innocent questions about Lisa's marital status and family life raised eyebrows. It was as though Lisa had ignited a spark of curiosity in the boyfriend's mind, a spark that refused to dim. The protagonist couldn't help but feel that something was amiss. Chapter 3: The Overt Interest. As the vacation unfolded, the boyfriend's interest in Lisa became increasingly apparent. He'd inquire if Lisa was joining them for dinner. His focus locked on her as if she were the only person in the room. Compliments flowed freely in her direction, a stark contrast to the distant behavior exhibited towards the protagonist. Chapter 4: The Puzzling Gestures. Perhaps the most baffling moment occurred when the boyfriend offered to help Lisa with a time-consuming task, altering their travel plans and causing the protagonist to question his motivations. It was a gesture that seemed out of place, given the circumstances, and raised doubts in the protagonist's mind. Chapter 5: The Emotional Distance. Beyond the infatuation with Lisa, the protagonist noticed a growing emotional distance between her and her boyfriend during the trip. Physical intimacy dwindled, and attempts to reconnect were met with indifference. It was as though the vacation had become a chasm, separating them emotionally. Chapter 6: The Dream. A dream about infidelity left the protagonist feeling unsettled. It was a vivid reminder that something was amiss, and the discomfort continued to grow. The vacation that was meant to strengthen their bond began to unravel it instead. Chapter 7: The Unspoken Dilemma. All of these observations led the protagonist to a crossroads. She found herself grappling with a range of emotions: hurt, confusion, and insecurity. Yet, she was also aware of the fine line between allowing space for attraction outside the relationship and addressing the impact on their connection. Chapter 8: The Path Forward. With all these feelings swirling, the protagonist pondered the best way to address the situation. She recognized the need for a conversation but was hesitant to approach it in a way that might seem accusatory or confrontational. She yearned for a productive dialogue, one that could strengthen their bond rather than strain it further. Chapter 9: The Conversation. In the end, the protagonist decided that honesty was the best approach. She approached her boyfriend with empathy, acknowledging that attraction to others can be normal in long-term relationships. She expressed her feelings and concerns, emphasizing that it wasn't about blame but about maintaining open communication and understanding boundaries. Chapter 10: The Resolution. The conversation that followed was a turning point. It allowed both the protagonist and her boyfriend to voice their thoughts and feelings, fostering a deeper understanding of each other's perspectives. The boyfriend, who had been unaware of the extent of his actions, expressed remorse for any hurt he had caused. As they navigated this challenging terrain together, they discovered that their love was resilient. They used this experience as an opportunity to reaffirm their commitment to each other, setting clear boundaries and rekindling the emotional connection that had momentarily dimmed. Chapter 11. The journey continues. The story doesn't end here, for relationships are ever-evolving journeys. The protagonist and her boyfriend emerged from this experience stronger, armed with the knowledge that open communication is the key to navigating even the most uncomfortable situations. This tale serves as a reminder that love is complex, and it often requires us to confront our insecurities and uncertainties head-on. It's a journey filled with highs and lows, but for those who are willing to communicate and work through challenges together, the reward is a love that grows deeper and more resilient with each passing day. In the wake of their candid conversation, the couple found themselves on a path of healing and rediscovery. While the initial discomfort had brought them to a crossroads, it had also paved the way for deeper trust and understanding. The boyfriend acknowledged his obliviousness to the impact of his actions and expressed genuine remorse for the unintentional hurt he had caused. It was a moment of vulnerability that allowed him to connect with the protagonist on a more profound level. He assured her that his attraction to Lisa had been superficial and fleeting, emphasizing his unwavering commitment to their relationship. Chapter 13. Rebuilding emotional intimacy. With open lines of communication, the couple began rebuilding the emotional intimacy that had momentarily faltered during the vacation. They spent quality time together, sharing their thoughts, dreams, and fears. This rekindled connection served as a reminder of the unique bond they shared, one that transcended passing attractions. The protagonist also took this opportunity to address her own insecurities and feelings of inadequacy. She sought self-affirmation and began to recognize her own worth beyond the context of her relationship. This newfound self-assuredness bolstered her confidence and allowed her to approach the relationship from a place of strength. Chapter 14. Setting clear boundaries. As they moved forward, the couple set clear boundaries to ensure their relationship remained a safe and nurturing space. They discussed the importance of maintaining individual interests and friendships while reaffirming their commitment to each other. These boundaries served as a roadmap for navigating potential challenges in the future. Chapter 15. A stronger connection. Over time, the couple discovered that their love had deepened as a result of this experience. They had weathered a storm together and emerged stronger on the other side. Their newfound ability to address uncomfortable situations with honesty and empathy became a cornerstone of their relationship. Chapter 16. A message of resilience. The story serves as a testament to the resilience of love when nurtured through open communication and mutual understanding. It reminds us that even the most challenging moments in a relationship can be transformed into opportunities for growth and renewal. To those who find themselves facing similar situations, the protagonist offers a message of hope. She encourages open dialogue and vulnerability, emphasizing that a strong relationship can weather even the most uncomfortable of storms. Love, when cultivated with patience and compassion, can emerge from adversity more robust than ever before. Chapter 17. The ongoing journey. As the story concludes, the couple continues their journey, hand in hand. They know that life may present them with new challenges and uncomfortable moments, but they face the future with a renewed sense of resilience and a deepened bond that can withstand whatever comes their way. This chapter is a reminder that, in the ever-evolving narrative of love, every twist and turn has the potential to strengthen the story and enrich the connection between two people. In the span of 10 years, my husband and I built a life together, blessed with the joys and challenges of raising two wonderful children. Our love had weathered the storms, but little did I know that a tempest was brewing on the horizon. My husband's frequent travels cast a shadow of distance over our marriage. I tried to hold our family together, believing that love could conquer the miles that separated us. But 8 months ago, a diagnosis shook the foundation of my world. I discovered that I had contracted an incurable STD, a cruel twist of fate that tore at my heart. When I shared my diagnosis with my husband, the response I received was one of blame and disbelief. He accused me of infidelity, and the trust that had held us together crumbled. As I grappled with the emotional and physical toll of my diagnosis, I found solace in a Facebook group for mothers. It was a safe space where we could seek help, share experiences, and even indulge in some much-needed humor. One day, as I scrolled through the group, I stumbled upon a post that would change everything. A mother playfully shared her plan to give her husband a laxative tea, hoping to keep him from a soccer game. The comment section was filled with laughter and encouragement, but my eyes were drawn to a profile picture that shattered my world. A woman with my husband. Intrigued and heartbroken, I delved deeper into this revelation. It appeared that my husband had secretly married this woman in a civil ceremony. He had created a new online identity, complete with a different name and surname. I suspected that their child carried my husband's false last name, a painful detail that she proudly shared in a post about registering the birth certificate. With trembling hands and a heart heavy with despair, I decided to seek advice from the same mother's group, this time anonymously. The outpouring of support and empathy was overwhelming. We pieced together the puzzle and concluded that this woman may not have known about our marriage. Summoning every ounce of courage, I reached out to her, hoping for a glimmer of understanding or compassion. To my dismay, she was well aware of my existence and our marriage. They had been together for 2 years, their love hidden behind a facade of secrecy. Their child, barely 14 months old, was a symbol of their union, even if their marriage was not legally valid. Fueled by anger, hurt, and a fierce determination to protect my children's future, I sought legal counsel. I gathered all the evidence I could find to support my case, determined to untangle this web of deceit. As the divorce process began, my husband made his choice clear. He left our home to be with her, abandoning the family he had promised to cherish. His refusal to provide alimony for our children added salt to the wounds. He argued that he had another child to support and threatened to seek the bare minimum, even if it meant leaving his job behind. Amid the chaos and heartache, I found myself at a crossroads, wondering how to rebuild my life. The weight of the STD and the responsibility of caring for my children loomed large, casting doubts over my future. But I knew I had to find a way forward, not just for my sake but for the little ones who depended on me. The road ahead would be challenging, filled with legal battles and emotional turmoil. Yet, I was determined to emerge from this darkness stronger than ever. My journey of healing and resilience had just begun, and I was ready to face it head-on. In the span of 10 years, my husband and I built a life together, blessed with the joys and challenges of raising 2 wonderful children. Our love had weathered the storms, but little did I know that a tempest was brewing on the horizon. My husband's frequent travels cast a shadow of distance over our marriage. I tried to hold our family together, believing that love could conquer the miles that separated us. But 8 months ago, a diagnosis shook the foundation of my world. I discovered that I had contracted an incurable STD, a cruel twist of fate that tore at my heart. When I shared my diagnosis with my husband, the response I received was one of blame and disbelief. He accused me of infidelity, and the trust that had held us together crumbled. As I grappled with the emotional and physical toll of my diagnosis, I found solace in a Facebook group for mothers. It was a safe space where we could seek help, share experiences, and even indulge in some much-needed humor. One day, as I scrolled through the group, I stumbled upon a post that would change everything. A mother playfully shared her plan to give her husband a laxative tea, hoping to keep him from a soccer game. The comment section was filled with laughter and encouragement, but my eyes were drawn to a profile picture that shattered my world. A woman with my husband. Intrigued and heartbroken, I delved deeper into this revelation. It appeared that my husband had secretly married this woman in a civil ceremony. He had created a new online identity, complete with a different name and surname. I suspected that their child carried my husband's false last name, a painful detail that she proudly shared in a post about registering the birth certificate. With trembling hands and a heart heavy with despair, I decided to seek advice from the same mother's group, this time anonymously. The outpouring of support and empathy was overwhelming. We pieced together the puzzle and concluded that this woman may not have known about our marriage. Summoning every ounce of courage, I reached out to her, hoping for a glimmer of understanding or compassion. To my dismay, she was well aware of my existence and our marriage. They had been together for 2 years, their love hidden behind a facade of secrecy. Their child, barely 14 months old, was a symbol of their union, even if their marriage was not legally valid. Fueled by anger, hurt, and a fierce determination to protect my children's future, I sought legal counsel. I gathered all the evidence I could find to support my case, determined to untangle this web of deceit. As the divorce process began, my husband made his choice clear. He left our home to be with her, abandoning the family he had promised to cherish. His refusal to provide alimony for our children added salt to the wounds. He argued that he had another child to support and threatened to seek the bare minimum, even if it meant leaving his job behind. Amid the chaos and heartache, I found myself at a crossroads, wondering how to rebuild my life. The weight of the STD and the responsibility of caring for my children loomed large, casting doubts over my future. But I knew I had to find a way forward, not just for my sake but for the little ones who depended on me. Chapter 2: The Legal Battle. The road ahead was filled with uncertainty, but I was resolute. I sought the guidance of a skilled attorney who could help navigate the complex web of divorce proceedings, alimony, and custody battles. As we gathered evidence to support my case, it became apparent that my husband's actions had consequences far beyond our marriage. The legal process was grueling. I was forced to relive the pain of discovering my husband's betrayal while also facing the daunting task of proving his infidelity in court. The STD diagnosis added another layer of complexity to the proceedings. My attorney and I worked tirelessly to demonstrate that my husband's actions had not only shattered our trust but had also jeopardized my health. During this time, I leaned heavily on the support of friends and family. They became my pillars of strength, offering a listening ear, emotional comfort, and practical assistance in caring for my children. Their unwavering presence reminded me that I was not alone in this battle. As the legal battle raged on, I grappled with conflicting emotions. Anger and resentment toward my husband were ever present, but so too was the fear of the unknown. What would become of my children, and how would our lives be reshaped by this ordeal? Chapter 3: Rebuilding my life. Despite the turmoil surrounding me, I knew I had to focus on rebuilding my life. My children depended on me, and I was determined to provide them with a stable and loving home. One of the most challenging aspects of this journey was dealing with the incurable STD. It required ongoing medical care and emotional resilience. I sought support from a therapist who specialized in helping individuals cope with chronic illnesses. Together, we explored strategies for managing both the physical and emotional aspects of the disease. Over time, I learned to embrace a new normal, one where the STD was a part of my life but not the defining factor. With the legal battle in progress, I began to explore my career options. During my marriage, I had put my professional aspirations on hold to focus on raising our children. Now, I saw an opportunity to rekindle my passions and pursue a career that would not only provide for my family but also fulfill my own dreams. It was a daunting prospect, but I was determined to seize it. I enrolled in online courses to update my skills and qualifications, leveraging the flexibility they offered to balance my studies with childcare. It was a challenging juggling act, but the pursuit of knowledge and self-improvement became a source of strength and purpose. Chapter 4: The Impact on My Children. Throughout this tumultuous journey, my children remained my top priority. They were innocent bystanders in this battle, and I was determined to shield them from the worst of it. Counseling became an essential part of our lives. I wanted to ensure that my children had a safe space to express their feelings and fears. Together, we navigated the complexities of divorce and separation, reassuring them that they were loved and cherished by both their parents, even if their father's actions had caused immense pain. Co-parenting with my estranged husband presented its own set of challenges. We had to establish boundaries and communicate effectively for the sake of our children. While the wounds were still fresh, I remained committed to fostering a sense of stability and consistency in their lives. Despite the hardships they had endured, my children displayed remarkable resilience. They adapted to the changes with grace and maturity, reminding me of their incredible strength. We embarked on new adventures together, creating cherished memories that would define our new chapter. Chapter 5: Finding Love and Redemption. As the legal proceedings drew to a close, I began to contemplate the possibility of love and companionship once more. It seemed like a distant dream, given the scars of my past, but I couldn't deny the yearning for connection. I cautiously ventured into the world of online dating, taking small steps toward rediscovering my identity as a woman and not just a mother or an ex-wife. It was a process of self-discovery and self-acceptance, and I encountered both setbacks and moments of joy along the way. Eventually, I met someone who understood my journey, including the challenges I faced with my health and the complexities of co-parenting. He brought patience, kindness, and a willingness to embrace my children as his own. Through his unwavering support, I discovered that love could indeed bloom in the wake of heartbreak. As I reflect on the winding path that brought me to this point, I realize that my journey of healing and resilience is far from over. It's a journey marked by scars, but also by the strength to endure and the capacity to rebuild. My story is a testament to the power of resilience, love, and the unbreakable bond between a mother and her children. And so, I move forward with hope in my heart, knowing that life's challenges have made me stronger, and that the future holds the promise of new beginnings and the possibility of a brighter tomorrow. In the vast landscape of human emotions, confusion often finds its place as a stubborn thorn in the heart. It's a place where many of us have ventured, and your journey begins there, too. You, a 25-year-old man, found yourself in an intricate web of emotions when you met a girl you'd been talking to for a year. The distance between you was substantial, but it didn't deter you from taking that courageous step to meet in person. Your heart, aflutter with anticipation, didn't heed the miles that separated you. As the day unfolded, you both shared memorable moments, and when night descended, your connection deepened. You found yourselves wrapped in the warmth of each other's embrace, hearts beating in sync. The culmination of your feelings led to an intimate encounter, a night of passion, shared with a person you'd grown to care for deeply. But as dawn's light broke through the curtains, you couldn't escape the inevitable reality. You had to catch a train and journey back to your separate lives. She stood there, accompanying you to the station, a bittersweet farewell lingering in the air. The train carried you away physically, but your thoughts remained entwined with her. You were left with a tapestry of emotions, a beautiful yet intricate pattern that you couldn't quite decipher. You'd confessed your feelings for her, and she, in turn, had revealed her own affection. The promise of a future together had tantalized your imagination. However, the days that followed brought a stark transformation in her demeanor. The warmth and closeness you had shared seemed to evaporate, replaced by an unsettling distance. It was as if a sudden chill had descended upon your connection, leaving you bewildered and disoriented. As you tried to make sense of her change in behavior, you learned about her painful past, a history marred by an abusive relationship. The scars of trauma had left her with avoidant characteristics, causing her to retreat when emotional intimacy beckoned. You reached out to her, extending a hand of understanding and reassurance. You offered to take things slow, understanding her need for caution and the fear of moving too quickly. It was a genuine gesture, born from your affection for her, a desire to see where this connection could lead. However, her response threw you into a whirlwind of confusion. She expressed discomfort with what had transpired between you, hinting at regret. Your heart sank as you wondered if you had unwittingly pushed her away. You dared to ask the question that weighed heavily on your mind: had she lost interest in you? Her response was not what you had hoped for. She confessed to feeling as though she had made a grave mistake, and it left you grappling with a sense of rejection. She proposed the idea of remaining friends and taking time to see where the path would lead. In the midst of your swirling emotions, you felt a cloud of melancholy descend. It seemed like she was gently letting go of what you had shared, and you wondered if you should wait, holding onto a glimmer of hope that something more might blossom between you, or if it was time to release your grip on the fragile thread that held you together. This complex tangle of emotions has left you in a state of confusion and melancholy, unsure of the path ahead. It's a place where many have stood, wrestling with questions of the heart. In this intricate maze of feelings and uncertainty, there is no one-size-fits-all answer. The journey of love is often fraught with twists and turns, and sometimes it demands patience, understanding, and time. It's a path that requires both individuals to find their way, even when the road is unclear. As you stand at this crossroads, it's essential to prioritize your own emotional well-being. Consider having an open and honest conversation with her about your feelings and concerns. Share your desire for clarity and understanding, but also be prepared to respect her boundaries and decisions. Ultimately, whether you choose to wait and see where this connection leads or decide to move forward independently, remember that your heart is resilient. It has weathered storms before, and it will guide you through the uncertain terrain of love once more. The days turned into weeks, and your heart remained in a state of turbulence. The ambiguity of your situation hung heavy in the air, like a fog obscuring the path ahead. Should you wait, as she had suggested, and hope that time would mend what seemed broken? Or should you take a different course, one that involved healing and growth on your own? As you pondered these questions, you couldn't escape the specter of doubt. It haunted your thoughts, whispering words of uncertainty in the quiet hours of the night. Was it worth investing your emotions in something that seemed so fragile, especially when her regret lingered like an unwelcome guest? One thing was certain. Your connection with her had left an indelible mark on your heart. It was a unique bond that had weathered the storms of distance, culminating in a night of intimacy and vulnerability. The memory of that night held a place of honor in your heart, a testament to the depth of your feelings. But as time marched on, you couldn't ignore the practical aspects of life. Your own journey beckoned, filled with opportunities and challenges that demanded your attention. You had aspirations, dreams to chase, and personal growth to nurture. The question of whether to wait or move forward became a delicate balancing act between your heart's desires and life's demands. Chapter 3: The Power of Patience. In the midst of your inner turmoil, you sought counsel from friends and mentors who had navigated the labyrinth of love themselves. Their wisdom offered a glimmer of clarity in the foggy expanse of your emotions. One friend, who had once been in a similar situation, shared their own story of patience and perseverance. They emphasized that love was not always a linear journey. It had its detours and obstacles, but sometimes, the most beautiful connections were the ones that required time to blossom. Their advice struck a chord with you. Perhaps patience was the key to unraveling this intricate puzzle. You realized that true connections were not bound by rigid timelines. They were nurtured by understanding, empathy, and the willingness to give each other space to heal and grow. Chapter 4: Reconnecting. Armed with a newfound sense of patience, you decided to reach out to her once more. You expressed your understanding of her need for time and space and assured her that you valued the connection you shared. It was a heartfelt message, one that sought to bridge the gap that had formed between you. Her response was not immediate, and the wait felt interminable. But when her message finally arrived, it carried a sense of cautious optimism. She thanked you for your understanding and revealed that she had been wrestling with her own demons, past traumas that had left scars on her heart. As you engaged in deeper conversations, you discovered the complexities of her journey. Her past relationship had left her with emotional wounds that ran deep, making it difficult for her to fully embrace the vulnerability of a new connection. But despite the challenges, she expressed a desire to explore the potential of what you both shared. Chapter 5: A New Beginning. With open hearts and a commitment to understanding each other's fears and desires, you embarked on a new phase of your connection. It was a journey marked by vulnerability and resilience, where two individuals sought to heal together while building something beautiful. As the months passed, you found that your bond grew stronger. The distance that once seemed insurmountable became a mere inconvenience in the grand tapestry of your connection. You both acknowledged that the night you spent together was a pivotal moment, one that had brought you closer, even if it had also stirred up uncertainty. Together, you explored the intricacies of your feelings, nurturing trust and intimacy. The scars of the past began to fade as you built a foundation of empathy and compassion. While the path ahead remained uncertain, you both embraced the beauty of the journey, knowing that true love was often found in the willingness to navigate life's uncertainties hand in hand. Chapter 6: The Uncharted Future. As you stand on the threshold of an uncharted future, you carry with you the lessons of patience, understanding, and resilience. Your story is a testament to the enduring power of love, even when faced with obstacles and doubts. The journey you've embarked upon is not one with a predetermined destination. It's a path where the destination is less important than the experiences, growth, and connection you share along the way. Your hearts remain open, ready to embrace whatever twists and turns life may bring, for you know that true love is worth the wait, the uncertainty, and the effort. In the end, your story serves as a reminder that love is not a destination but a journey, a beautiful, unpredictable, and transformative journey that has the power to heal and mend even the most complex of hearts. In the whirlwind of everyday life, balancing work, household chores, and childcare can be quite a challenge. For Sarah and John, a couple who both work full-time from home while also taking care of their two kids, the struggle to maintain a harmonious household can be particularly daunting. Sarah often finds herself juggling a multitude of responsibilities, and despite their strong connection and active sex life, she feels there's room for improvement in their partnership when it comes to housework and shared expenses. Sarah's daily routine is a demanding one. She wakes up early to ensure the kids are ready for school, preparing breakfast and helping them get dressed. After the children are off to school, she dives into her remote work, which, like John's, requires her full attention and effort. Amid the hustle and bustle of her day, she still manages to find time for her own well-being by committing to a regular workout schedule. One of the things that has been bothering Sarah is the division of household chores. At the start, John used to help make the bed in the mornings, but recently, he stopped doing so. His clothes now pile up on the bedroom floor, and he seems generally messier compared to Sarah. This growing disparity in their cleanliness standards has become a source of frustration for her. She longs for those small acts of thoughtfulness, such as her partner noticing the dishes in the sink and lending a hand without her having to ask. Financially, they have divided the expenses somewhat unevenly. Sarah pays half of the rent and covers her phone bill and their internet service, while John handles the electricity bill. However, there have been discussions about sharing expenses more equitably. John mentioned wanting Sarah to contribute to the electricity bill, which she hasn't done yet, as she believes they should split all expenses equally, including groceries. This financial imbalance is another point of contention. Despite these issues, Sarah acknowledges that their sex life remains vibrant, and they've been making an effort to spend quality time together, particularly during the weekends when the children are asleep. Still, she can't help but feel overwhelmed and tired at times, which can affect her mood and potentially strain their relationship. Sarah knows that addressing these concerns with John is essential for the health of their partnership. She doesn't want her concerns to come across as an attack, nor does she want to initiate arguments. She is seeking advice on how to approach John, with the hope of fostering a more equal and harmonious household. As Sarah contemplates the best way to address these issues with John, she recognizes the importance of open and honest communication. She decides to pick a calm and opportune moment to express her feelings and desires. Here's what she plans to say. "Hey John, can we talk for a moment? I've been feeling a bit overwhelmed lately with all the responsibilities at home, work, and taking care of the kids. I really appreciate the times you've helped out, like making the bed in the morning, but I've noticed it's been less frequent lately. I was hoping we could find a way to share the household chores more evenly, so it doesn't all fall on me to ask for help. It would mean a lot to me if we could both take initiative in maintaining our home. Regarding our finances, I know we've discussed sharing expenses differently. I think it might be a good idea for us to sit down and work out a more equitable arrangement that feels fair to both of us. That way, we can both contribute equally and ease some of the financial stress. I also want you to know that I truly value our relationship and the time we spend together. I've enjoyed our recent late-night hangouts after the kids are asleep, and I hope we can continue nurturing our connection. Lastly, I want to apologize if my mood has been off lately when I'm overwhelmed and tired. It's something I'm working on, and I appreciate your understanding and support. I love you, and I believe that by working together, we can make our home even happier and more harmonious." Sarah hopes that by framing the conversation in a caring and constructive manner, she can convey her concerns without making John feel attacked. She believes that mutual understanding and collaboration can help them overcome these challenges and strengthen their relationship. Communication, after all, is the cornerstone of any successful partnership, and it's the key to finding solutions that work for both parties. Sarah's heartfelt conversation with John left a significant impact on him. He had been unaware of the extent of her struggles and concerns. After their talk, John took some time to reflect on the situation from his perspective. While he appreciated Sarah's willingness to communicate openly, he realized that he needed to be more attuned to her needs and the dynamics of their partnership. He recognized that they were both working full-time from home, even though his job often kept him on his feet, which might have contributed to his previous lack of involvement in household chores. John thought back to the early days of their relationship, when they were still dating and living separately. At that time, he had been more proactive about helping out with cooking, cleaning, and other domestic tasks when they spent time together. However, as they moved in together and their lives became busier with work and kids, it seemed like those good habits had fallen by the wayside. As he contemplated Sarah's requests for a more balanced division of labor and shared expenses, John realized that he needed to make some changes. He didn't want Sarah to feel like she had to carry the weight of their household responsibilities alone. He understood that small acts of thoughtfulness, such as making the bed or helping with the dishes, could go a long way in making their home life more pleasant. John decided to take proactive steps to address Sarah's concerns. He started by acknowledging that he hadn't been as attentive to the household as he should have been. One evening, after the kids had gone to bed, he sat down with Sarah to express his thoughts and feelings. "Sarah, I've been thinking a lot about our conversation, and I want you to know that I really appreciate your honesty and vulnerability. I hadn't fully grasped how much you've been juggling every day, and I'm sorry for not being more attuned to your needs. I love you deeply, and I want our home to be a place where we both feel comfortable and supported. I understand that I've been slacking in the household chores department, and that's not fair to you. I want to change that. From now on, I'll make a conscious effort to help out more with cleaning, tidying up, and taking care of our living space. I don't want you to feel like you have to ask me to do things. I'll take the initiative. Regarding our finances, I agree that it's time to revisit how we share expenses. Let's sit down together and work out a fair arrangement that takes into account both our incomes and responsibilities. I want you to feel like we're truly sharing the financial burden. I also want you to know that I value our relationship immensely. The late-night hangouts we've been having are some of my favorite moments, and I'm committed to making more time for us to connect and unwind together. Lastly, I want to be more attentive to your moods. I'll make an effort to notice when you're feeling overwhelmed or tired and offer my support and understanding. I'm truly grateful for your love and patience, and I promise to be a better partner in all aspects of our life together." John's sincere words touched Sarah's heart, and she could see the genuine commitment in his eyes. She felt a wave of relief and gratitude knowing that he was willing to make positive changes for the sake of their relationship. Part 3. Working together. In the weeks that followed their heartfelt conversation, Sarah and John made a concerted effort to put their words into action. They realized that maintaining a harmonious household required teamwork, communication, and compromise. They began by setting up a shared calendar that included not only work-related commitments but also designated times for household tasks. By planning their chores together, they ensured that neither of them felt burdened by an overwhelming workload. Sarah no longer had to carry the mental load of constantly tracking what needed to be done. John also made it a habit to check in with Sarah regularly about how she was feeling. He paid attention to her moods and made an effort to provide emotional support when she needed it most. This simple act of mindfulness made a significant difference in their day-to-day interactions. In terms of finances, Sarah and John sat down for a thorough discussion. They reviewed their income, expenses, and savings goals. After an open and honest conversation, they decided to split all expenses, including groceries, utilities, and rent, evenly. This arrangement not only alleviated Sarah's concerns about fairness but also fostered a sense of financial partnership. As they continued to work together to create a more balanced and harmonious home life, Sarah and John discovered that their relationship grew stronger. They shared their triumphs and struggles, laughed together during shared meals, and cherished the moments when they could relax and enjoy each other's company. Their efforts did not go unnoticed by their children, who observed their parents working as a team and supporting each other. The kids, in turn, learned valuable lessons about the importance of cooperation and open communication in a relationship. Part 4. The ongoing journey. Sarah and John's journey toward a more equitable and harmonious relationship was not without its challenges. There were still days when fatigue and stress got the best of them, leading to minor disagreements. However, they had developed a strong foundation of communication and understanding that helped them navigate these moments with grace and empathy. Over time, Sarah and John's home became a place of shared responsibility, love, and mutual respect. They continued to prioritize their connection, ensuring that their late-night hangouts and intimate moments remained a vital part of their relationship. By taking the time to nurture their bond, they found that they were better equipped to face the everyday challenges that life threw their way. Their story serves as a reminder that a successful partnership is built on more than just love. It requires effort, compromise, and a commitment to understanding and supporting one another. Sarah and John's journey was a testament to the power of open communication, empathy, and a shared vision for their future together. They knew that their relationship was a work in progress, but they were determined to keep working on it, day by day, hand in hand.